What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Volume Podcast. And in this episode, we're going to be talking with Reece, the creator of Bloodthrone, Tower of Sacrifice by Frontline Gaming, to not only talk about the game itself, but the mindset of the brains behind it all. And with that, sit back, relax, and don't forget to turn it to 11. First off, I want to thank Reece. Is it Reece or how do you pronounce your name? I don't want to.
Reece, yeah.
Reece, right? Okay. So first off, I want to thank Reece for hopping on the episode here and accepting the call. First off, where in the world are you and how are you doing today?
I'm in Puerto Rico and I'm doing really good. Thank you so much. I'm just chilling.
Awesome. All right, for
with
sure,
my
for
little
sure.
buddy.
And so, so what's the name of the tabletop game that you it's on Kickstarter right now, and I want you to go ahead and give a brief summary of it for those who have not any familiarity with it, or haven't even looked at the game. So what can you say about it?
Yeah, so we just made a game called Bloodthrone, and it's on GameFound now on the Pledge Backer, and it's a little bit difficult to describe it in one sentence, but what it is in like a nutshell is if you took D&D and XCOM, smash them together, that's what Bloodthrone is. So it's a squad-based or party-based adventure board game that can be played as PVE or PVP.
So PVE and PVP. So we got two modes going on over there. So for those who aren't familiar with PvP, that's what player versus player. And you got player versus environment. So that's pretty. I think that's what got me into it because it had that little PVE element as well as a PvP over there. And then, of course, the miniatures. We're gonna have to get into that pretty soon. Is this your first time designing a game here?
Yeah, first time designing a game. Like I've been in the board game industry for almost 20 years now. Almost. I'm getting old as shit, but yeah. So almost 20 years now. Yeah, I'm fucking old. But this is the first game that we've made, and it genuinely it's the game I wanted to play. Like, so it's like if you take my favorite parts about D&D, which is not only just like hanging out with other people and having a good time, like mechanics wise, like in terms of like game mechanics, it's creating characters, which is my favorite part about D&D or any RPG, and then combining it with PVE experience, like, oh, here's a cool adventure, and also PvP, where it's like, hey, does your buddy think that they can make a better optimized party than you? Taking those things and combining them together, that's what it is. So yeah, this is our first game, but I've been working on this for 6 years. So
Wow.
so it's not like wasn't just like here we go. It was like very very long, arduous process of mostly me doubting myself and like checking everything like a million times, and that's how we got to where we're at now. Of so like if you've ever played Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale or any game like that, like imagine if you could create your own party from the ground up, go into an adventure that your friend created. They created all their own monsters. It's all app supported. You could do whatever you wanted, or just play an adventure that's provided for you via the campaign, or go PvP. That's what it is. So it's a lot. Like we're casting a wide net. It's not just like one thing. It's a lot of things. That's why it's kind of difficult to describe it. But I think once people get their hands on it and they have a chance to play it, they can be like, wow, holy crap, there's so much here that we can do. So that's my hope anyway, is that people kind of get a sense of like, oh, this is like a sandbox that we can do anything we want.
Oh, that's pretty dope though. Again, I mentioned the minis. The minis is what actually got me into it because man, they're who are they from again?
Creature
Who's
Caster.
sculpting them for you guys? Creature
Creature Caster.
Caster.
Yeah, they're a Canadian sculptor. In my opinion, like I'm a miniature fanatic. You know, like you could show almost any miniature in the world to me, and within reason, I could tell you where it was sculpted and when. Now, of course, someone's going to come with some historical miniature and be like, "Oh, this is like a Teutonic knight from 1944," and I won't be able to identify it. But within reason, I have almost a encyclopedic knowledge of miniature sculpting. In my opinion, Creature Caster is top three best sculptors in the world. Like not just at present of all time. They are they are exceptionally talented, and it's not just because they are good artists. They care
Mhm.
about like like for example, there's a new character in the next expansion game. We debated for months about like the physical like okay like if this guy was in this environment would his armor make sense because like if he fell in the water he would drown or blah 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 so like that's how detail oriented they are. And that's why the sculpts look as good as they look, is because they're crazy. They're insane people, just like
Mhm.
I am. That they think about every little thing and they're like, if it doesn't make sense, we're not going to sculpt it. Like, it's not
Oh,
just about making it look cool, it's about making it make sense. And like, if you're, you know, if you really are like a aficionado, those
mhm.
little details make the difference between saying yes and saying no to it.
For sure. Yeah, and so Creature Caster did create or sculpt one of a tabletop board game right over here.
It's called
It's
judgment.
Judgment. Yeah, Judgment. Oh man, 2.0. And so the sculpt's very detailed, and I love it. And it is I'm not really kind of familiar with the process, but do they when you get the minis, is it all in one? Like they give it to you just one piece, or do you gotta like, kind of like Warhammer, you gotta piece them together, kind of glue them together?
So our the minis for our game come assembled already. They're already glued together. We did that
Perfect.
intentionally because we wanted to like lower the barrier to entry. Because like people
Hmm.
like you and I that want to like I want his hand to be this way and at 45 degrees to his body. You know, like we represent a small portion of the gaming community. Even though like I'm on board with you, like I'm 100%. That's the way I am for sure. Most people just want to open the box and start playing the game. So we decided to pre-assemble the minis, so they all look the exact same, which to some people is a detriment, to some people is a positive. That's a decision that we made. Um,
Hmm.
in the future, like going forward, I would love to have people design their own mini on a web page, like go crazy, like to the infinite uh, degree, and we're working on making that happen. Hopefully, like
Hmm.
fingers crossed, we can do that. But the minis in the game come pre-assembled, just to make it more accessible for the average gamer.
Definitely. So that's pretty dope. No, I get what you're saying. Marvel Cross's Protocol. That's another one. You gotta kind of glue them all together, and you can't wait to play that certain miniature. But what you're saying is that they come assembled, and you could just go ahead and right then and there plug and play, and you're off to the races, and you're good to
Yeah,
go.
like I love MCP, dude. I love MCP. I play Defenders, like Luke Cage and the Iron Fist, the Immortal Iron Fist, are two of my favorite characters, and like Blade, all time favorite
Yeah,
Marvel characters. However, those models are multi-part, but you can only assemble them one way. So it's like there's no room for customization. So it's like you're paying me to do labor that you could have done to give me a complete product. So it's like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost like that's not a hobby. Like like if I love to build Gundams, right? But you
Oh,
can make a
definitely. Yeah,
Gundam,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can make a Gundam however you want, right? Like I can make him aiming this way, that way. But like a MCP model, it's just like I feel like you just the manufacturing process had one more step and you didn't do it, and then you're charging me a premium to assemble the model that can only be assembled in one way. Like if
Right.
Immortal Iron Fist could have been doing 20 different poses and I got to choose, excuse me,
Hmm.
cool. But it's not. He can only go one way. So it's
That's
like
true.
Luke Cage is only like this ever.
Yeah. You can't open him up, you know. Can't give.
Yeah,
Doesn't make him look like he's giving the person a hug. You can't, you know. So.
it's kind of whack, dude. I'm like, is that really a kid? Is that really like a hobby kit? I don't know. Because like my Gundams,
uh,
they still move. I can still move them now.
yeah,
They have
that's pretty dope.
articulated
So,
fingers.
you mentioned you being in the industry for 20 years. You said 6 years you were working on developing this game. What were you doing in the other 14, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh gosh, a lot. Fuck, that's a big. I mean, how much time do we have? Like,
Oh, go for it.
um,
Go for it.
so I'll try to answer that as briefly as possible without sounding like an idiot. So I started out in organizing events. You know, like back in the '90s, like back in like 1997, 1998. I was organizing tournaments for Games Workshop games and D&D when I was just a kid, and that was how I got started. Fast forward, shit, 15, 20 years, I kept doing that, and we got really good at it, and that's how Frontline Gaming started. So then with Frontline Gaming, we started selling gaming product, and then we started making gaming products, and then we kept building and running more and more events. So now we run the Las Vegas Open, which is uh, it's one of it's like weird. It's in this weird space. We are for sure the biggest tournament in the world for tabletop gaming events, but we're not the biggest tabletop gaming event. So it's like we're in between the biggest tournament and the biggest event in the world. Um, we manufacture a lot of products in the gaming space, and now we've made our first game. So it's been this like organic evolution, like long, slow process of going from just organizing things and people to making things and still organizing people. And it's difficult to describe the whole evolution because it's been such an organic process. Like at no point did I apply for a job or say like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. It just kind of happened on its own and just kind of leaned into it. And
Hmm.
regardless of how you want to describe it, I'm just really thankful and lucky to be able to do something that I genuinely enjoy, and it turned into a profession. So that's kind of a weird way to describe it, and I apologize that it wasn't more succinct, but it was the way I'm like trying to describe it is the way it happened. It was very like one thing and then the next thing and then the next thing, and it was like, oh shit, this is a job, So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, obviously, the 6 years you're doing the developing, I'm pretty sure you had to like kind of switch yourself into like the next gear, and trying to get this game pushed out, and so you kind of make that little transition. But before we even talk more about that, um, again, the minis look flawless. They look awesome. The game looks like just the design of the game just looks incredible. What my question is, what made you go into more of a TTRPG kind of game as opposed to making it into like a full on combat war game kind of game like that? So
yeah,
why would you go from TTRPG as opposed to the a war game? I know it can become a PvP, but And I think that's what makes this game more exciting because of the versatility that it has. But TTRPG is, I guess, it's the main, and then it turns into like PvP. So what was your thought process on that?
It's a really good question. So the reason that we didn't just go straight into like a skirmish combat game or whatever is because like for one, for me, like my two loves in tabletop gaming, like the things I'm obsessed with are miniatures, what do I call miniatures combat games like 40K, AOS, MCP, whatever, and D&D. Those are the two things that I love that have fascinated me my whole life. Like from the time I was a child to the time I was an adult, I never lost one degree of enthusiasm for those things. And so I wanted to make a game that was both of those things, right? Like a narrative adventure that you could enjoy cooperatively, or a sweat dripping off the end of your nose competitive experience with beautiful miniatures. So those are the two places that I was coming from, right?
Mm.
Also, from a business perspective, the market for cooperative adventure board games is at least an order of magnitude larger than miniatures combat games, right? Like to the best of my knowledge, 40K or Games Workshop has 2 million customers, right? Like I've done extensive market research. I could be wrong. I 100% be wrong, but I believe there's 2 million active customers. And when I say active, I mean people that purchase and play the game, right? Like not just people that like read Black Library novels or they played a 40K video game or whatever. The board game market is at least one or two orders of magnitude larger, right? So you're talking 200 million people. Now, when you slice that up into people that like high fantasy D&D style board games, you're boiling down into a much smaller market, but it's still, even when you divide that down, it's still dramatically larger than the people that play Kilty or Warcry, right? Like the people that play Warcry is probably measured in six figures, not seven, eight, nine. So when we were designing the game, I was like, shit, if we want this to actually succeed, I feel like we want to hit the broadest market possible. So therefore, we want to go at the people that bought Gloomhaven, Kingdom Death, you know, games like that. Now, having actually done it, my perspective is different. But
Hmm.
going into it, that was the thought process. But it wasn't just money driven. It wasn't bullshit. Like I genuinely love these kinds of games. Like if my research led me to the point of like make Monopoly, I would have been like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Like that's not worth it to me to do something that I don't want to do, right? So like it still was in the circle of things that I love. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll do both of these things. But now having done it, looking back, I was like
Hmm.
that assumption was incorrect. However, I felt like it was an intelligent assumption to base our strategy off of going into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the thing. Going into designing a game like Bloodthorn, you kind of have to do your market research to see where your audience is, and for sure you got to cater to your target audience, which you're doing right now. And so that's one of the things I wanted to pick your brains about. And speaking of brains, this whole series that I'm doing, Reese, is I know we're talking about the game a lot, but I like hearing from the creator, the designer, the developers themselves. There's a lot of spotlight on the game already, and I want to kind of shift that spotlight over to you, and we're gonna go like a little deep dive in to where your headspace was at in creating this game Bloodthrum. So during those 6 years, and maybe possibly like the first year or two prior to those 6 years of developing this game, when you kicked it up to the next gear, like I was talking about, what mindset did you have or changed into in order to get this game, launched and off the ground from your thoughts onto the tabletop? So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so like everybody who plays games a lot wants to make a game, right? Like in their heart of hearts, everyone wants to make a game. Period. Like I always say, like every gamer wants to have a game store and make a game. That's the way we all like deep down. That's what we all want, right? So that's a really good question because it's like, how do you go from like just writing shit down on a piece of paper to like doing it? Um,
Hmm.
so for me, I went from just writing things down on paper to committing to doing it when I started showing it to other people. Because so when I say I've been working on this for 6 years, um, the first 2 years were like, nights and weekends. Like I wasn't like 40 hours a week, like brr. Like it was me just like kind of aspiring towards something and then like doing something when I had time. So when I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to put this in front of one of my friends. And
Hmm.
luckily I have a buddy who's played every flipping game on the planet. And you like, wonderful, he's a wonderful person, but he's played like every game. So I was like, hey man, let me know what you think. Like, am I stupid? Is this ridiculous? Like, and he like read it and we played it together and he loved it. And that positive feedback from another person was all it took. That was like as it like anybody out there who's like fiddling around with like a spreadsheet and like a word doc and maybe you're like drawing some shit on some paper. That's all it takes. Like I just needed one other human being that I respected their opinion to affirm what I was doing, and that was it. And then after that, I was balls to the wall, all in on trying to make it happen. And then COVID hit, and
Hmm.
when COVID hit, we had to like basically stop normal business operations, and so I was forced into a position where I had to be still, which is hard for a person like me. So I was like, oh, fuck me, man. Am I going to sit here and like be introspective or am I going to do something? So I did something. I worked my
Right,
ass
right,
off
right.
and like I did the majority of the work during COVID. And I was playtesting with all these other people that didn't have anything else to do. And the feedback was so positive that it really put fuel in the thing. Now, obviously, what I'm describing isn't realistic for a global pandemic shouldn't be the reason that you do the thing you do. But uh,
Hmm.
what I would take away from this is like a high point. Have somebody else that you respect their opinion, look at what you're doing, give you honest feedback. So if it sucks, it sucks. Go back to the drawing board. If it's great, keep going forward. And then try it with people that understand what you're doing, right? Like if you're a gamer,
Hmm.
you have other friends that are gamers. And don't send them like a Word doc where it's like unpolished. You know what I mean? Like give them the easiest possible thing. So like when I play tested it with other people, I didn't say like, oh, read this 200-page Word doc. I was like, hey, come play the game with me. I've got everything ready. All you have to do is
Hmm.
show up. I bought the beer. Let's hang out and do it. And then it's you know what I mean. So make it easy for the other person. So when I did that and I started getting good feedback, I was like, oh, I'm not crazy. This is a good idea,
Hmm.
right? And so I'm sorry, I talked for way too long. That was a long answer to your question.
No, 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 no. Don't apologize. That's all good. That's what I like to hear. And you mentioned about 2 to 3 times, maybe 4 times about feedback, and that's
Yeah.
actually a good segue, to my next question. Obviously, feedback is going to make or break a person, because if you tell a person, "Man, you are not that great," that person that is being told that can just either rise up, even more, or they'll just take that into consideration so much that they crumble down to the ground. Obviously, there isn't there's a lot of positive feedback that you receive, and then there were some negative feedbacks, obviously. So talk to me about the negative feedbacks, and like what'd you do with those negative feedbacks? Did you kind of brush it away? Did you take into consideration and kind of manipulate the game to kind of satisfy their needs, I guess, or their concerns, or uh, what did you do? Like, what's your headspace and mindset on that?
So that again, that's a really good question. Like dealing with negative feedback is like extraordinarily difficult because like you're so emotionally close to the thing that you're making that when someone says anything negative, it's like it hurts a lot. Like it's like someone making fun of the like your worst insecurity, like oh you have a big nose or whatever, right? Like if someone's saying like that thing, and so it hurts because it's accurate. You're like shit. So
Right.
you
Hmm.
like you have to be able like you can't ask for feedback expecting only positive reinforcement. Like you have to be prepared to get a negative response, and like you have to be able to deal with that. So for me, it um, it's very painful, but it's coming from a good place, right? So no one's
Hmm.
gonna be like, "Your game fucking sucks and I hate you." No, no, like no one in a million years that's not gonna happen. Like the people that you're putting in
Yeah,
front of,
yeah,
they care about you. So like when they say something, it's hard for them to say it to you. You know what I mean? Because they care about you. So it's like
hmm,
you really have to just take it, like accept it. When someone's like, ah, you know, this is all good, but this mechanic, I didn't like it. Really absorb it. And for
hmm,
me, I have pretty thick skin, but like when something's really close, it can hurt. I always make a rule to give a day before I do anything. Right? I have to have 1 or 2 days before I even reply because after that amount of time, you have had a chance to internalize it, cool down, and then you go,
hmm.
oh, they're right. They are right. Like that mechanic does suck, right? Or like this character isn't very cool. I thought it was cool. They're not that cool. And then you can come back and then you can talk to the person in a way that's authentic and real. And then that person
Hmm.
feels safe to communicate to you in a way that is effective. Like if you just immediately like blow up on them, you're never going to get any feedback ever again, right? And like you need that. You need that feedback. So like chill, take it in, think about it, and then respond in a very calm manner. That's the only way I've found to do it. Like
Hmm.
it's an imperfect science, but that's the only way I found to be able to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it sounds like, from what I'm gathering here, constructive criticism, you know, um, kind of communicate that, and then from that you create based off of what you received, um, off of the feedback that you received. So that's awesome. And yeah, there's no one in the world that's gonna say, "Hey, your game sucks." I think
Yeah,
I think you hit that right in the head
especially
right
not your
there.
friends. You know what I mean? Like your friends aren't going to
Yeah.
expect it to you. Like imagine if your best friend said, "This is the thing I'm making that I care about more than anything in the world. Tell me what you honestly
Yeah.
think." And for them to tell you, "I love it, but this part sucks." you have to accept that
Hmm.
in good faith. Like you have to,
Yeah.
you know, like because otherwise you're gonna make something that sucks. Like you have
Yeah.
to draw that in and listen to
Definitely.
what they say because usually they're right and you're
Yeah.
wrong. So it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna make this tweak. I'm gonna make that tweak. Like when we play tested our game, I wrote down every single thing that everybody said.
Nice.
So we had a weekly playtesting session. I took notes on everything, even things they didn't say. I wrote it down. Like, playtester six, like, did this when he was doing. That means he fucking hated it. You know what I mean? So like, I was like, I need to change that shit because it's fucking horrible. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done that.
You're you're right. You're right. Nonverbal communications. You know what? 75%, and
Yeah,
that just says a lot, honestly. So body language, guys. So
yeah.
it's like, oh, he did this. What is that? What is it?
Yeah, totally. Like, because you know your friends better than anybody knows. Sometimes you know your friends better than they know
For
themselves, and they know you better than you know yourself. So when you see that little like
yeah,
you're like, oh, that sucks. Like,
yeah,
I need to change that because that's not fun at all.
yeah. It's like, oh, he didn't like that. We gotta
Yeah,
we gotta go to
that's
next thing here.
entirely true.
Oh man, so you were mentioning that you don't want your friends to crush on your dreams that you just created, something um, out of not out of nowhere, but something that's within your mind, um, and now it's on paper, now it's on the tabletop, now it's out in the world, and that's pretty awesome. Are you able to share some of those kind of I guess feedback? Because I know Kickstarter has the comment section all over, and I'm pretty sure you're all over it. What are like a couple of comments, good or bad, that kind of hit you like right at the spot to where you're like, either, oh man, that means a lot to me, that's awesome, or crap, I gotta go back and tweak that a little bit then. Do you have any of those comments in the Kickstarter right now?
Yeah, like I don't remember any of the comments like entirely specifically, as in like exactly what they said, but
Yeah.
any negative comment like cut deep, obviously, but like you can pivot that into being a way to improve. So I try to always look at
Hmm.
a critique as a potential to get better. Um, the thing, like broadly speaking, the things that people said that I wish I would have done differently if I could go back and do it again, is we didn't put the game in the hands of third party reviewers. And that was the biggest mistake we made in our Kickstarter. If I could go back, um, I would get the game to like 20 different independent reviewers because the game's really good.
Hmm.
Like we made a good game. So I naively and foolishly thought that since I made something that I'm proud of and it's good, everyone will love it. That's not the way
Yeah,
life
yeah,
works. That's not the way reality works, you know? So I wish I would have gotten it in the
yeah.
hands of reviewers. So that's number one biggest mistake I made. In terms of the negative feedback, the other thing we got was relatively small, but I think to your audience it could still be useful. Like, I wish every card had art on it, and I was like, okay, I hear that. That would have been extraordinarily expensive, but I hear
Hmm.
that because like a modern AAA game, for lack of a better AAA board game is not the same as a AAA video game. It's like two orders of magnitude less expensive to develop, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
it's so expensive, right? So that's why we didn't do it. And so, but I hear that critique. Um, um, they wish I feel like we did everything right except like two, three things that we fucked up. And if I could go back, I
Hmm.
would fix those things. But predominantly, it was third-party verification and also people just going like, who are you? Like, who is your company? I've never heard of you. And I was like, but we've been working on this for 6 years. And they were like, I don't know that. And you're like, that's true. You don't, you don't know that. I know that because that's my lived experience, but you
Right.
don't. So like, if I would have had like a blog going the whole time or something like that, it would have been better. So, you know, live and learn. Positive comments, everything that everybody said was fuel in the fire. It was like throwing a log on the engine, the fire that kept
Mm-hmm.
the engine burning. I can't express enough how much I appreciate everyone that was kind because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, behind the thing is a person, and human interactions are what drive this whole thing. And like people being nice really meant a lot, you know. So
Definitely.
every kind
Yeah.
thing anyone said was deeply meaningful. Normally it'd be like whatever, you know,
Perfect.
like if I'm walking down the street, like whatever, but like this is like my baby, and so like when people were nice, it made me
Yeah.
really mattered a lot.
And it's just like like, hey, I just got a brand new haircut. If the person really likes it, they're gonna say, hey, I like your cut. It's
Yeah,
looking good. If they don't like it, then you don't have to
when you
say
have new
anything.
shoes, and someone's like,
Yeah.
"Those shoes are fresh," you're like, "They are." Thank you for noticing.
I put it right in front of your face so you can say something, but it
Yeah,
doesn't work all that. It doesn't work that way all the time. So,
like even
um,
guys who are normally disconnected a little bit from their emotions, like it matters a lot, you know, like it really does.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure, and it does. It's great that you said it because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of guys out there that are disconnected to their emotions, like what you said. They just keep things to themselves and they get it all boiled up, and it pop goes the bottle. And yeah, we don't want to do that. So,
no,
um, fueling the fire, and that's something that sounds like it's kind of like a motive. Those reinforcements, those feedbacks, fueling the fire, and just throwing more wood in there. I want to bring that over to my next question. So that's a perfect segue, and to like your motivation. Again, you may think like, just pen on paper for my thoughts, and to you, it's like nothing. But to others who are going to be enjoying this game pretty soon, it's like unbelievable on the tabletop. So, what my question to you is, I guess, what's your, I guess, top motivators, and what fills your motivation juice to continue flowing?
hmm. As someone that is obsessed with games, you dive into the mechanics of the games, and then you start tweaking things, and so then you think,
Hmm.
oh, I think it would be better if it was like this or like this or like this or like this or like this. And so eventually you come to the point when you're like, well, if I just made my own damn game, it would be like this and like this and like this and like this. And I think that's how a lot of people become game developers or game makers or like, you know, whatever
Yeah.
word you want to describe, right? Like, how many times do you play the game when you're like, it should be like this, not like this? And I think that's the feeling that gets you to from point A to point B. What gets you from point B to point C of going from like thinking about it to doing it and enduring the process is
Hmm.
totally different. Like having people shit on your idea, you're like, no, it shouldn't be like this. It should be like this, and then you're like,
Yeah.
this is why I made the game, you idiot. So you know, taking this next step is um,
Hmm.
quite a bit more difficult, and that's why so few people do it. But it's still doable, right? It's still doable. You just have to change your
Hmm.
perspective. And like anybody who's endured hardship in their life, like anybody who's like you know, gone through things that were challenging, it sets you up to be ready for that, right? Because like once you go to that phase of it, it's different, you know.
Definitely. So, again, loving it. Just taking everything into consideration and just making yourself even better. It's what I'm hearing right now, and it's only gonna get better from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing from Kickstarter. It's just you're blowing it out the water right now, and can't wait to get that game on the tabletop. Gotta test out both PVE and PVP. I got a decent group of people that are wanting to play the game, but I'm pretty sure I can kind of give them that little nudge to play this next one here. I want to ask you now. Obviously, Blood Thrones is something huge in your life. So what's next for you? What's next for Reece? As in relation to Blood Throne, or even um, you were saying that you were doing organized board game or tabletop organizing. Are you going to go back to that? Or are you going to go full throttle on Blood Throne? What's next for you?
So I mapped out a 9-year plan for Bloodthorn. So assuming that we get some traction and people enjoy playing the game and they're interested in what happens, I have 9 years of content prepared because I'm like a psychotic and like I have to know where I'm going to not to like to feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like even though you can't control the future, you have no
Yeah.
idea what's going to come. I have to feel like I must feel like I have some say over that. So I planned out 9 years of content. So like for the rest of my traditional career, assuming that I retire at
Hmm.
an old age, I have a plan for the whole thing. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm crazy and the world doesn't actually work that way. So I'm fully anticipating that that's not the way things go. Um, assuming that I get my wish, that will be the way things go. I
Hmm.
have 9 years of content planned for the game. I have another game that I've already been working on. It's a sci-fi game. It's like uh, it's like a versus Gundam miniatures
Okay.
game. Oh, I'm so excited
I can
about
get
it,
behind that.
dude. I do. I don't want to say too much, but like I'm so excited about it. Like imagine building your own Gundam versus like, dude,
Mecca is
rocket. Like
got it.
I'm so excited. The physical manufacturing part of it is the only thing that I'm still trying to figure out. But anyway, so that's my other plan. Basically, I want to make games and be in the gaming space until I die. I'm lucky enough that
Hmm.
I married an awesome woman that is she gets it and she's on board with it. And
Hmm.
having a family and making games, I'm good. That's all. That's all
Yep.
I need from this life. And if that's all I get, I will be so thankful.
Oh man, yeah. I got the kids, got the amazing wife, like you said. How you have it in your end. I'm not developing a game, but I'm playing the game, and that's all it is for me on my end. And you hit something really important here. I know you said you have a plan that's 9 years stretch out there. That is definitely not a bad thing. Because to me, if you fail the plan, then you plan to fail. And so you got 9 years cooking. Oh man, we're in for a wild ride then, right?
Yeah, and first of all, I'm envious. Like you have kids, and I'm so happy for you. But yes, like I'm psycho, so like I couldn't not think for like I was like, okay, if someone buys this game, and then what are they going to do the next year? And what are they going to do the next year? And then and like all those things you ever thought about when you're like, why'd they do this? Why'd they do that? This is stupid. I don't like this. I was like, I don't want any of that. I want everything on the whole arc to make sense where everyone's like, Yeah, 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 that was dope. Yeah, that was cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Nice.
that was why it took me 6 years, because I was like, every single step down the road has to make sense. Otherwise, why am I doing this? This is dumb. Otherwise, right? Like, if you don't do it correctly, you don't do it at all. That's what my grandpa always told
I love that. I love that.
me.
Definitely gonna live and die by that for sure. If you don't want to do it and you can't do it, don't do it at all.
It's true. If you're going to do something,
Yeah.
do it correctly. Otherwise, don't do it.
Yep. All right. So we're nearing the finish line here. We're gonna be landing the plane here soon. But first, where can we find more information about you and Bloodthrone?
So, Bloodthrone is bloodthrone.org. You can find more information about my company at frontlinegaming.org. And that's basically it. Like, if anybody's interested, we are in this for the long haul. So obviously, I think I've communicated. So, anyone that wants to, get involved and enjoy it, please do. And we'll be happy to welcome you into the community. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about all this random stuff. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
no problem. So it's some good stuff, hopefully, and oh, we're not done yet. Because we're talking about board games, we're talking about tabletop games. I got a little game myself for you, of course. It's called Fast Five, and by no means is it related to the Fast and Furious franchise.
Not at all.
Basically, this is how, yeah, this is how it goes down, right? I'm gonna let you pick three numbers between 1 and 10. Three numbers, because I got two already set. So give me three numbers between 1 and 10. Go ahead and shoot.
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10. Okay, so 8, 9, 10. All right, there's a little method to my madness here. Okay, so here we go. And all it is just questions. All right, just questions. So I'm gonna be saying like a sentence saying my favorite color is, and then you're just gonna go ahead and say my favorite color is red. So basically you're finishing the sentence there. So the first one here, my all-time favorite board game is.
Kingdom Death.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
Kingdom Death.
Oh,
Kingdom Death.
Kingdom Death. All right. Okay. Alrighty. Then the next one. With all expenses paid for, I will pack my bags and travel to
Mars.
Mars. Okay. You're going to go hitch a ride with Elon Musk, yeah? No, I was kidding. All right. Here we go. So 8, 9, and 10. Here we go. All right. If I can eat one food or dish for the rest of my life, it would be what?
Rice and beans.
Rice and beans. Okay. All right. Okay, so the
My
next
wife
one,
makes
if I
fun
had to
of me.
fight Muhammad Ali. I'm sorry, what was that?
My wife makes fun of me because I eat rice and beans like every day. Rice, beans, and eggs every single day. That's my favorite food.
Hey, add eggs to that. You're golden, like you said.
Gallo pinto con huevos is
Oh.
my favorite food, like in the world.
So for the rest of your life, rice, beans, and eggs. I'm down for that.
Some vegetables, and then I'm good. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. All right. So let's see. We're on the fourth one now. If I had to fight Muhammad Ali, and you only had 1 year to train, and Muhammad Ali is in his prime, who would
He would kill
you
me.
pick as your trainer?
That's impossible.
Who would you pick as your
He's one of the
trainer?
greatest fighters of all time. He would kill me. So, I mean, that's like saying fighting Iron Mike in his prime.
Yeah.
1 year, like 1 year to train. I'm a big fight fan. That's literally impossible.
Yeah.
I would need my whole life.
Oh, he's looking like, oh man.
I don't know. Like, that's an impossible. That's like saying go to the moon in 2 days.
Yeah,
Muhammad
yeah.
Ali would punch my head off my shoulders if I had 1 or 2 years to train. I'm a big
man.
fight fan. So, like, I'm like,
You're like, I don't think that's necessary.
I don't even think that's
One is not
possible.
enough.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to derail. To answer the question, fuck me, I don't even know. Like, there's no trainer on the planet that could prepare me for the greatest boxer,
From yeah.
arguably the greatest
Let's just
boxer of
skip
all
to the
time.
next one then.
Yeah, that's not possible.
All right. So, last question here. If I could live in any fictional world, I would live in where?
It's a very difficult question. So the 12-year-old in me would say like some anime thing where like it's a dude goes to a world and there's like 100 chicks or whatever. But you know what do they call it? Like etchy or something like that. It's something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I would go a fictional world.
Yeah. No wrong answer. Just wanted to pick your brain.
It's really difficult because I've read so many science fiction books. I guess you know what? I would go to Star Trek.
Star
I would
Trek?
go to Star
Okay.
Trek because that's the most positive outcome for all human beings.
Now that I think about it, that's true. That's a good place. I never got that one. That's a good one. So, all right, Reese, that's pretty much it right there. The 5 question game. Man, yeah, you're so awesome. It's pretty fun to be on with you on the podcast here, and a lot of nuggets that were dropped in this episode for sure. From positive reinforcement and feedback to the motivation that you have here. So, what is like one last thing that you would say to our viewers or our listeners here? Some like closing comments that you have.
So first of all, get a good teammate, and then also like if you really want to make a game or whatever, do it. Like fucking do it. Even if it means you fall flat on your face and you fail completely, and it's just a catastrophe, you will die thinking, I tried, I did it, I took my shot.
Hmm.
Because like Frontline Gaming is my fifth business. I failed times. 4 times, which is, by the way, the average. The average entrepreneur takes 5 businesses. I'm completely average. I am the most average mid dude ever. I exactly hit the average. Just go for it. Just don't worry. Don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about succeeding or failing. Just do it because life is short. And even if you fall flat on your face, you will be thankful that you tried. So just if you really want something, if you're dreaming about it, just go for it. Go for it. And damn the consequences. Like you're gonna be okay on the other side of it, no matter what happens.
Great words from Reece, the designer, creator of Blood Throne, The Tower of Sacrifice, and Frontline Gaming. Fifth one, Average Joe, but he's going for more than average, obviously. He's got a 9-year plan coming on. All right, Reece, again, thank you so much. You've been awesome. Thank you for hopping on the episode here. I will definitely get the game on the table soon as it's on and like in front of my door. And yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it once I get rolling on that game. Reece, thank you so much again. You have a great day, an awesome week, and hope that 9-year plan goes, into fruition and it's flawless. All right.
Thank you.
You have a good one
Thank
now.
you for having me.
Thank you so much, Reece. That wraps up this episode. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also catch us on YouTube, where all of our content is at. Also, please leave a review as it'll help this podcast grow. Hang out with us on Discord. I'll put the link down below as well. And thank you. Don't forget to turn it to 11.